Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Letters of Light. We are the last letter, the letter Tav. So if you've been following along, this is, I think, class number 23 or 24. I don't remember anymore. We've been doing this for 23 weeks, and we're finally at the end. I don't think we'll be able to finish today completely, which means we'll have one more week. That means next week we'll finish Tav, and then we'll do like a review at the end of it, and then we'll segue into the what I call the righteous women who have saved the Jewish people. So before I begin, I want to speak a little bit about this mayoral election. As Jews, we believe that you have to do your hishtadlut. You have to put in your effort to see physical results in the world around us. But we do not, we believe that everything that happens, the result is up to God. We're not in control of the result. We're in control of the effort. And so while, obviously it's disappointing that Mamdani won, this is not the first time in Jewish history where a leader that was elected was anti-Semitic. And I spoke about this earlier. I said how I didn't finish doing it yet because I had a very busy morning. I chat GBT'd, find me other moments in history where Jews have responded to the election of a anti-Semitic government official. And it popped out like 50 responses just in the last 100 years. And I wanted something older. I was looking for something much, much older. And so I had to refine the search, whatever it is. But there was a letter that was written by a woman in Germany to her daughter about, Adolf Hitler being elected and, not knowing where this election would take us, but knowing there was something wrong with the election. And I'm not saying that's where we're at right now. But I am saying this. At the end of the day is we believe that our elected leaders don't have any free will. You lose your free will once you become an official. You are a puppet of God. And so whatever Mamdani brings us, we see it as something being guided from a higher place. It's not an accident that the areas with the most amount of Jews in America, New York and New Jersey, went left. Okay, not an accident. Is this the invitation to move back, make Aliyah? I don't know. I'm not sure we're there right yet. I do know that we're fragmented as a people. I know that there's never been a better time in history that I could point to where Jewish families, are weaker than ever. There isn't enough cohesion amongst Jews in New York. And while I've spent my whole life trying to bring Jews closer to their Judaism and Jews closer to Jews, I've also spent a tremendous amount of time of undoing the damage that Jews have done to other Jews. And I remember when I was one of my oldest students, his name is Ilya Sandler. He was the president of the Hillel Jewish Club when I started on campus 20 something years ago. It was 23 years ago. And he said to me, Rabbi, I hate Jews. I said, why? He said he was a Jew from the former Soviet Union. And he said to me, when I left, the former Soviet Union, people called me a Žid. They called me a Jew, right? And when I come to America, I left because I want to express my Jewish identity. And when I came here, Jews call me Russian. Call me Russian. They call me Russian. Right, and so and then I see the way they behave, and I see the way that they act towards us. It's I can't be part of this community. How can I be part of the Jewish people if Jews are such hateful people? And I said to him, Ilya, you never judge a religion based on the way the people practice it. And this is certainly true for Judaism. Judaism is a system, I believe, of personal development and personal greatness. And it demands a lot from us. There's a reason why it's been around for so long. There's a reason why there have been so many counterfeit religions that sprang forward from Judaism, because very few people can aspire to what Judaism wants from us, to be a light unto the nation, to be a moral light, to be people that are kind, giving, loving, understanding, patient, people that are growth-oriented, people that are not living a life of superficiality, people that are living a life of meaning and depth, people that don't spend too much time obsessing about the externalities of things, but are really worried about the things that really have real meaning. And it's not easy to live in that existence. It's hard, it's demanding. And so for the Jews that have excelled in their personal development, they've been able to pass down this great heritage to their next generation and their keeping the faith, so to speak, right? But for most of us, we don't know we're not articulate enough to speak about Judaism in the most eloquent way. It requires a tremendous amount of discipline, someone who is a student of history and philosophy, someone who appreciates mathematics, linguistics. There's so many different things that are here, but it requires a real effort on your part to be someone who says, I want to be a master of these things. So when I look at Mamdani and what he's going to do, and some of you spoke about it earlier, I don't think he'll be able to pass most of his agenda. Like, he's not going to be able to, he won't be able to raise taxes. He won't be able to do free buses. He can impact, and the thing that I'm most worried about is the place where he could have the most destructive, the most destructive nature of his tenure could be the police department. Yes. He has full control over the police department. It's one of the largest city item budgets. It's $1 billion that he has full control over. And he could say, well, I'm not spending $1 billion on police officers. I want to spend only $500 million on the police and $500 million on what he's going to call his social workers, right? He could do that. That could be very damaging to the city, because at the end of the day, if we don't have the safety to protect the people of the city, the businesses will leave. And the businesses will leave, the real estate and property will go down. So, we don't know where he's going to go. Will Hochul, support him in raising taxes? She said that she won't. She said she won't. She said that she won't. She said she won't. She said she won't. She said she won't. But we'll see. We don't know. The point is, it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't need to feel outraged. Like, the results were never in my control, right? So again, now the question is, what's my response? So do I take a defeatist attitude and say, okay, that's he won, and therefore we're knocked out? No, the answer is we're not knocked out. The response isn't either to go out and protest and like throw paint and do crazy things that people on the left are doing either. That's not the response either from us. The response that we need to have is only one thing. How am I growing myself? That's it. How am I building my family? How am I building my relationships? How am I creating a situation where I'm growing and developing my soul, my spirit, my family, my children, my siblings, my parents? Like, that's the only response you have. I am not in control of anything but the response. So I'm not going to be outraged. I'm going to see this as a loss, unfortunate loss for the citizens of the United States of America. Because if Mamdani if he wins and he succeeds in doing whatever he wants to do, and he's elected a second term, that's when I'm very concerned. This next 4 years is a freebie, so to speak, right? It's a time for us to look and see and start strategizing. But if we see that the leftists take more power, and there are more Islamists who are definitely interested in Sharia law and definitely interested in changing what America looks like, then we have to ask different kinds of questions. Right now, we're not there yet. We're very far from that.
I'm just afraid, what is this signaling, right, for future elections?
Yeah, no, it's definitely signaling.
Or not mayoral, but just elections in general. Is this, a signal?
It's definitely signaling lots of things. It's signaling that you have this unholy alliance between, the Islamists in this country and the left. And they have a lot of numbers right now, unfortunately. And you have a lot of stupid, uneducated college students who went out and voted, not understanding what they're voting for. And they would see this country be destroyed, not fully appreciating what they have. No one in this country could appreciate what it means to be born an American, what it means to have the freedoms that you have until it's lost, until it's too late. So my hope and my prayer is that we are able to figure out how to move beyond it. But more importantly, that if we are able to find the inner light to grow, because I believe that's how we change. That's how we destroy the darkness, is by doubling down on becoming better versions of ourselves.
And I don't think the party should end when it comes to Israel and Eretz.
What do you mean? Say that again, I didn't hear you.
The loyalty to the party, whichever it is, either Republican or Democrat, that whoever is pro-Israel.
No, Israel is a whole separate issue, meaning there's one question is what will it be like for Jews in America? And there's a whole separate question of what will it be like for Israel? Meaning, up until now, Israel benefited tremendously from having a very powerful lobby in the United States on its behalf. That's changing, no question about it. And the glory days are over. I don't know if America will be there in 10 years from now to help Israel with anything. And therefore, Israel has a choice to make, its people and its government. Are we willing to invest in becoming self-sufficient and truly independent? If you really want to become a superpower, you have to start thinking much more broadly. And the only way you can be a superpower is if you have alliances. You can't do it alone. So that's where Israel's at right now. We'll see where it goes. And as far as us as Jews in America, we are witnessing. I spoke yesterday at Baruch College, and I spoke about to the students how I'm so lucky that I grew up at a time where I was witnessing the apex of Judaism in America. We had Seinfeld. You had you had all these amazing Friends. You had all these amazing TV shows. Jews were everywhere in media, in news, and in business. They dominated every field, and that's changing now. So we're watching the pendulum swing away from Jewish power or Jewish influence, whatever that means. Jewish power is not control; it's just Jewish influence. We're losing that. The assimilation rate in America is over 70%. Which means that in about 30 years from now, we'll have less than half of the Jewish population in America. Okay, if there are 5 million Jews now, in 25 years from now, we'll have only 2.5 million Jews in America. Yeah.
The demography of, let's say, I'm just going to label ultra-Orthodox.
Yeah, the ultra-Orthodox only make up 11% of the Jewish population. And no matter how many children they make up, it's a drop in the bucket relative to the 5 million people that are here. They're only the 89% of the population is a massive number. You can't have enough kids. You'd have to have like 50.
The Jewish population?
Yeah, the Jewish population. The Jewish population. There's not enough. There's only 11, and by the way, and out of that 11% of the Orthodox and the ultra-Orthodox, how many of those kids leave Orthodoxy? It's like 20%. So you're at like 9% at best, maybe. We're not making enough kids to. You'd have to have like 100 kids each to like try to slow down, and it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. Like we're watching the decline of Jewish power. This happened, by the way, in different areas in history. It happened in Spain. It happened. It happened in Rome. It happened in Greece. There are different times in history where Jews who were a significant power lost power, and we saw what happened during those times in history. The Hanukkah story, which is coming up in a little bit more than 35 days, right, is a story about how Jews were living in a time in history where the government went out of its way to prevent Jews from having access to practicing their own faith, to practicing their own beliefs. We're not there right now. We're not there yet. But we'll see. Again, I can't worry about everything. I could only do what I can. I can only do the things that are in my control. My control is right now. What do I do now? Right now, I watch, I wait, I listen. I'm preparing for all kinds of scenarios. Again, the thing that matters most is doubling down on inside here and the people in this room, people in your family, and so on and so forth. All right. So, the letters. The last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Tav. There was a little bit of Shin that we did not finish, but Bezrat Hashem, we're going to go back in the review and I'm going to finish it there. Okay, so the letter Tav. Okay, this is coming from the Gemara in Shabbat. It says the letters Kuf, Shin, and Resh. Right? We've spoken about this before. It's the word Sheker. They're all very close together. The person's falsehood, while Emet stands for truth. And unlike most concepts represented by earlier letters, whose meaning are conveyed by the initial letter, Emet is symbolized by its final letter, Tav. So it's the letter at the end of the word Emet, Tav, that is the defining force of what the word Emet means. And I love this concept. Let's just finish this and we're going to double click on it. This alludes to the nature of truth. At first, it may appear less attractive or advantageous than falsehood, but in the end, truth prevails. Though its triumph may be long in coming, Lama otiot shel sheker smochot zeh lezeh v'shel emet marchakot zu mizu. Why is it that the letters of sheker are close to one another, but the word emet are far apart? Aleph, mem, tav, first letter, middle letter, end letter, to indicate that falsehood is common, but truth is rare. The alphabet, the letters of sheker are consecutive, while those of emet far apart. The first, middle, final letters of the alphabet. This teaches that truth is not easily found, whereas falsehood is readily available and widespread. The Talmud further asks, Lama otiot shel sheker omedet al regel achat v'shel emet al reglaim rabot. Look at the letters Shin, Kuf, and Resh. Kuf and Resh have one leg, right? And they'll topple over right away. Whereas Emet, each letter, each font of those letters, Aleph, Mem, and Taf, has two legs and a base, right? Why? Because to teach you that Emet stands firmly on two, to teach you that Emet omedet v'sheker ein omedet, to teach you that truth stands firm but falsehood cannot stand. Mamdani is a liar. I don't care what you tell me. Guy's a liar. This wasn't spin. We've heard him say things and retract them. We've heard him take on different accents. We've heard him change his policies. We've heard him say things lying about his aunt who was afraid to use a train, who did not live here. It wasn't his aunt, it was some relative who, whatever it is, right? He's a liar. And the truth will prevail. For me, the saving grace of the United States was always its laws. And once we start living in a country where its laws are being challenged, so for example, when Letitia James came after, Donald Trump and invented, crimes. I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm not saying he didn't do his bad stuff. He is, but we can't fake laws and twist laws and reality to destroy somebody else. It doesn't work. The things that make us noble and able to live in a just society is something called truth. Truth is defined by the laws. Can I speed? Can I go 150 miles an hour down Madison Avenue? The answer is no. I cannot do that. I'm breaking laws, right? There are truth. The truth is defined by the laws of your country, right? In many ways. There's objective truths, there's subjective truths. And therefore, what the Gemara is teaching us and what our rabbis are teaching us is that the nature of truth is that it's very hard to find. You have to really search. You have to go through everything, beginning, middle, and end, to find the truth. Sheker is everywhere, all over the place. But be mindful that what makes emet profound as a concept isn't the first letter or the middle letter, it's the final letter, the top at the end. At the end, the truth always comes out. What the BBC did, the BBC took one of Donald Trump's speeches before January 6th. They took one sentence that he said in the beginning of the clip, and then they literally an hour later copied and cut him saying something else to make it seem like he was inciting violence, right? He sued, I think, was it CBS, and which other companies? Somebody else for like $14 and $16 million. He's for sure going to sue the BBC, 100%. This is a complete. This is a horrible breach of trust that you have one of the most, what they claim, credible, British, the British Broadcasting Service, which is what's supposed to be the highest credentials for journalism, literally fake news, right? Spreading disinformation. How do you trust them? And the answer is you can't. You can't trust the legacy media anymore. They're all bought, they're all destroyed, it's gone. But we know at the end, it took how many years for this to come out? January 6th was how long ago? 4 years ago? Okay, it takes 4 years for the truth to come out. And you're seeing this now with Obama, right? And the things that he did to go ahead and create his controversy about creating weaponizing the government to spy on his campaign. That's going to come out also. Eventually it's all going to come out. You cannot run away from the truth. Eventually it will find you. Rashi says on this Gemara, he says, Rashi explains that the letter emet is formed with a stable two-footed base, signifying endurance and balance. In contrast, the letter sheker, particularly the letter kuf, stands precariously on a single point, symbolizing instability and impermanence. That is the nature of sheker. Sheker always falls. Truth shall prevail. The Zohar says, sheker le kara'in. Falsehood has no feet. Right? If you push a little bit, I'm at number 3 on page 1. If you push a little bit about someone's truth, and there's no good response to that truth, you'll see their truth falling apart. You'll see it's a lie. Someone says something, the nature of a person is to believe it right away. That's not what it means to be a Jew. When a man studies all day, he's supposed to study Talmud. What is Talmud? The Talmud is a conversation of rabbis, back and forth. And what they're trying to do in the Gemara is they're trying to teach you what not to think. Often, anti-Semites will use quotes in the Talmud and say, oh, look, they're pedophiles, they're misogynists, they're all these things, and what they don't understand is that the Gemara will bring down concepts that it rejects itself. And the reason why it's mentioning is not to tell you that this is what we accept. Obviously, pedophilia is against Jewish law, right? But it's telling you about how not to think. It's bringing up scenarios that is showing you a twisted way of coming to a twisted conclusion. We don't want you thinking that way. And therefore, what the Gemara is teaching you to do is to question everything, even from the rabbi. Doesn't want you to accept what the rabbi said. I don't want you to sit there and just accept what I'm saying. Push back, right? Have questions, question it. Learn to think critically about the things that you hear. That should be your initial response. Anything you hear, especially today with the internet, it's so easy because you get so comfortable with your app and you're reading information that is true. And then once you're in that accepting phase, you're in this trusted space, in the comfort of your bed, on your pillow, and you can accept anything. You're so vulnerable at that point, and you need to make this crazy paradigm shift. You should never be vulnerable on your phone. There's no room for vulnerability anymore, because once you're vulnerable, you get hijacked. You'll start buying things you don't want to buy. You'll start believing things that you don't want to believe in, and worst case scenarios, right?
How would you respond about pedophilia, which was published by Haaretz, the prisoner, Palestinian prisoner, they were molested?
Listen, anyone who is molested, anyone, Palestinian or whatever it is.
He was in the prison in Israel.
Yeah, I'm saying so that's disgusting. That those people.
That's like very controversial because the woman had it on her phone. She disappeared for an hour. The family was looking for her, and the phone was somewhere else. So, you know the story.
You're talking about what's her name, Yerushalmi? You talking about that case, the lawyer, the chief lawyer for the IDF who leaked the video of is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know enough about it. I'll say this much. For me, it's unfortunate that there are Jews that would behave that way. It's disgusting, and they should go to jail for it. I don't care who they did it to, Palestinian, not, that doesn't matter. It's illegal, and they should be punished for it. Now the question is, did what she did, was that responsible? Why would you leak that information, right? The day after October 7th, so that all the international media people picked it up right away and used it to fuel more Jew hatred. I'm not saying that story should not have come out. It should definitely come out. And again, I'm not saying those people shouldn't go to jail. They should all go to jail. But if you're an elected official working for the government, why would you leak information that's sensitive? I'm not saying it shouldn't come out.
What if the soldiers committed suicide because of money?
Now, I don't know if this is true. I've heard this before. I haven't seen. I've heard that some of the video that she released was doctored. That it was also edited. It wasn't whatever was shown was made worse. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying whatever was shown, it made it look worse than what it really was. And I think that, so for me, like that, I don't know if that's, I haven't confirmed that story yet, but I've heard other people speak about it. So I don't know what happened. I think it's weird that she disappeared on Sunday, and that, and that she said that her phone is missing, and that, like, whatever it is, and like, I think there's a bigger story here. It's super suspicious, but I don't know. Like, again, like, the truth will come out. It always does. It just takes time for it to come out. But no, it takes. That's what we're saying right now. It takes a long time for the truth to come out. As a matter of fact, we say that, like, we believe that Judaism is true. I don't wear a kippah because it feels good. I wear a kippah because I believe it's true. I come to the Knesset, I pray, I put on tefillin because I believe it's true. The world thinks I'm crazy. Why do you do this stuff? Why do you wrap phylacteries? Why do you keep kosher? Why do you dress that way? Why are you so insular? And I say to them, you don't understand. I believe, it's not like most people, when they think about, the things they believe in, they think of it like ice cream. I love ice cream. Okay, I love chocolate. I think chocolate should be mixed with other things. It should never just be eaten alone. A little vanilla or some nuts, whatever it is. It brings out the flavor of the chocolate even more, right? But if I say I like chocolate and you say you like strawberry, which one is true? Is chocolate better or is strawberry better? And the answer is, that's personal. When I say I like my Judaism, I'm not saying it makes me feel good. It's like ice cream. It's not like I like the Knicks and you like the Nets. When I'm saying when I'm practicing my Judaism, you know what I'm really saying? I'm saying every other religion is false. I'm saying that every other belief is wrong. That's what I'm saying. This is not that. This is truth and false. And when a Christian person says that they're proud of, they're saying the same thing, and that's fine. We could agree to disagree. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay when we are imposing our beliefs on other people. I'm not okay with that in any system. A healthier system is where we recognize all human beings were created equal under God. We all have our free will. Let us make our choices. Do your things, right? Judaism is a truth, right? How it expresses itself in time, right? We'll see, okay? There were times in history, in Jewish history, where it was illegal to convert to be a Jew. It was illegal. It happened in the 2nd century, and the 7th century in Spain, right? And other places around the world as well. There were too many non-Jews converting to Judaism. And the king saw this as a threat, and they stopped it, they banned it, made it illegal. If you allow Judaism to run its course in any country, in any system, eventually the locals of that population will see what Judaism is actually trying to do. Right? And the locals will want to go ahead and convert in droves. We don't go out and proselytize. We're not interested in going in. If my job was to missionize, I'd have the largest church in America. Right? Fari and I were on a missionary tour. We would have the largest church in America. Right? We have a mega church, or mega shul, whatever it is. We'd have our TV station on Sundays, and we'd have whatever, packed it out, whatever it is, we could do that. That's not our mission. Our mission is to inspire our people first. I'm not worried about the world. We take care of ourselves first, and then our responsibilities to the world around us. But the truth will come out in time. We believe that at some point, Mashiach will come. There will be something called the Messianic era, where the whole entire world will recognize Judaism as a truth. And at that point, conversion will become illegal. You will no longer allowed to convert. The doors close. You can no longer convert to Judaism. There's a small window of opportunity, and you're living in it right now. And I don't know when that day happens, but when it does happen, there'll be people that'll say, "Oh, I was so close. I wish I went a little further." You know, there's a famous Gemara that says, "What's the first thing a Jew is asked when he dies, when he comes to heaven?" Right? They ask you, "Were you honest in business?" Right? Did you say Torah? There's a whole series of 6 questions. You know what the first thing they ask a convert when he dies? Ready? What took you so long? What took you so long? Right? It's a good question. I don't know. You know, we all did our thing, and we find our truths, and it takes us time. You know, I got lucky that I was born to this, and I was lucky enough to be in a position where I could rediscover my Judaism on my own, and come to these understandings and so on and so forth. That was my mazal. But there are even greater people who are born outside of Judaism, and they're in a position where they could pick to be part of the Jewish people, and they're even closer to God, and they're even more spiritual than any Jew is. All right. So the Maharsha, number 4, says the entire word sheker leans upon the tilted leg of the kuf. Right? If you think about it, look at the letters. Shin, kuf, and resh are all leaning in the middle, right? Which extends downward beyond the line of all the letters, giving the word an unsteady, top-heavy stance. By contrast, all 3 letters of emet evenly upon a firm foundation, reflecting an enduring balance in nature. Same concept over here, that the nature of truth is that it's solid. You have a true argument. It's not going anywhere. You make rational sense. Truth has to be rational. Truth has to be something that is firm. Truth is something that has a beginning, middle, and end. It's not going anywhere. Maharal, even when sheker appears strong and popular, which is where we're at right now with this election, as with the false prophets of Israel, it is temporary and unstable. Emet, however, is eternal, permeating the world. Wishing not to... page number 2, flip over. I skipped the page. Mishle, right? Safat emet tikon la'ad v'ad ariga lashon shakar. The lips of truth shall be established forever, but the lying tongue is only for a moment. So it's okay. I'm okay with the liars coming out and lying. They will be exposed. Now the question is, do you have bitachon? Do you have trust? Do you have the faith and security of knowing that God has a plan for us? The people that are panicking right now are the people that don't have faith. I'm not panicking. I know that whatever happens, it will be good. Even if it's difficult and challenging, it's all going to be good at the end. The Be'er Mayim Chaim, number 7, the Nachash, the serpent, the first creature of earth to utter a lie, was cursed with the loss of its legs. Condemned to crawl upon its belly, it embodies a punishment of sheker, which has no feet. Now, it's interesting, the Mekubalim point out, this month that we're in right now, the month of Cheshvan, is the letter that is associated with this month. If you remember the letter series, right, is the letter Nun, right? The Nun has two aspects to it. There's the first Nun and the final Nun. So the first Nun, right, is a line and its leg has fallen. Its leg has fallen, right? It's a Nun with the leg with the fallen leg, right? So that represents Nefilah, the falling down of a human being. The reality is that we're all going to fall. We say Sheva Pa'amim, tzaddik v'kam. 7 times a righteous man will fall and get up, which means all of us, no matter who we are going to go through a time in our lives where we're going to fall flat on our face. We're going to go through pain. It's going to be difficult, no question about it. But there's a final Nun. The last Nun represents Mashiach. That represents being standing straight tall and having that clarity, the long Nun that comes all the way down. That is the Messianic era. So there's 2 Nuns. The month of Cheshvan that we're in right now is the beginning of the Mabul, the beginning of all the chaos in the world, right? But it is also the time where the Messianic era, in theory, can begin. Now, what the Zohar points out is something fascinating. He says that the Nun represents the spine, and the spine represents the Nachash, right? And that the Nachash and the spine are interconnected. What was it that the Nachash actually did in terms of poisoning Chava and Adam? What was the poison that he inserted in them? So the Zohar says that he gave them a overactive imagination. Think about it for a minute. The tree was called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Eitz Hadat, Tov V'Ra, right? Well, what did it do? Did it give you the knowledge of good and evil? And if that means Adam and Eve didn't have it, then why were they punished? If you don't know what's right and wrong, why were you punished? And then what was the other tree called? Eitz HaChaim, right? So what was that tree? What did that tree do? So what did the Nachash do? The Nachash created a overactive imagination in Chava, where she believed that she could be like God. You could never be like God. Twisted her imagination. Now, when you have an overly active imagination, what's true anymore? What's right and what's wrong? It's unclear. In a world of Eitz HaChaim, you're living in a world of Emet, a world of truth. There's no more imaginary reality, there's just one reality. That was lost. And therefore, the Zohar says, and this is based on the Gemara in Brachot, that says like this: the way we do the tikkun for the Nachash is bowing down. Right? When we bow down in the Shemona Esrei, right? Baruch Atah Hashem, we bow down. That bowing down is part of humbling ourselves so that we can be in a position to rectify our overactive imagination. How do you rectify by bowing down? Anyone know? Through humility. The way you fix your imagination is by recognizing, I don't know. It's by being humble. It's by feeling a sense of indebtedness, feeling a sense of gratitude. I'm no longer in a state of taking from, but rather I'm becoming the person that is giving to, right? It's a whole entire psychological shift. Think about it in terms of the relationships you have, okay? We know that the one that gives the most in the relationship is the one that loves the most in the relationship. The one that loves the most, the one that's giving the most, right? In every relationship, there's always a giver and a taker. If 2 people are in a relationship where they're both taking, what is that? What do we call that relationship? It's dysfunctional. Yeah, and it ends in divorce. When one person is giving to a relationship and one person is taking the relationship, that relationship is handicapped, not the ideal scenario to be in. But in a real healthy relationship, everyone is giving. In a relationship, man and God, who is giving more and who's taking more? Between man and God, who's giving more, who's taking more? Let's do parent. Well, okay, God is always giving more. God is giving more. Now the question is, well, what are you doing to become a giver? Let's talk about the Parsha for a minute. Okay, it's a little bit of a tangent, but it's really cool. Abraham has circumcised himself. It's 3 days later, and he's bugging out. He's like, I need to do chesed. I need to go out there. I need to find people where I could go ahead and do some kind of kindness with. And God says, I feel bad for him. I'm going to send him these 3 angels that come in, and he serves them food. He does achila, shti'ah, and levaya, the three eshel, the three things that you need to do for your guest. You have to give them food, drink, and then levaya is walk them out. As a matter of fact, if any of you have ever had a fire in your house, or anyone know who has had a fire in their house, usually they'll say the reason why a fire happens in someone's house is because they do achila and shti'ah, they give food and drink, but they don't do levaya, they don't walk the people out. When you remove the lamed from eshel, what are you left with? Esh. Right? And therefore levaya is walking the person out of your home. Have you ever seen people who walk people out of their house? You like okay, like I left already. Like, why are you still following me down the block? It's because of this. There's a mitzvah to walk your guest away from your home, right? Walk them away. That's like closing the deal, so to speak. So now Abraham does all three, and the Midrash says because Abraham gave achila, shtiyah, and did levaya with the malachim, with the angels, he merited 3 miracles for his descendants. The 3 miracles were the Be'er Miriam, the well of water in the desert, the man, and the cloud of glory, the fire, and the cloud at night that would come in the day and the night protect the Jewish people. These 3 miracles were a result of Abraham doing these 3 acts of kindness for these 3 angels. Now, if you're a critically thinking person like I am, what should be your question? I don't understand. The angels don't need any of this stuff. Why? Who cares that he gave water and drink and he walked them away? Like, they don't get any benefit. Why should that be the place where he's getting the reward for later generations? Shouldn't he have gotten the reward for the thousands of people that he has had at his house up until now? Why are you pinpointing, the Midrash pinpoints that this is the reason why? Who cares about these malachim? They were actual, real, alive people in his house, human beings that benefited from the achila, shtiyah, and levaya, the food, drink, and the walking them away. Right? Why the angels? So one answer, the answer that I appreciate the most, is that when you do kindness for someone, sometimes that kindness is motivated from a place of empathy. I feel bad. You're in need, you're a poor person, I'm wealthy, here's some money, you don't have a coat, here, take the coat. That's a form of kindness. But there's a higher level of kindness. It's kindness for the sake of being kind, no empathy involved. So Abraham is doing this chesed for beings that got no benefit out of it. He's not being driven by anything psychological of this need to give, but it's coming from a higher place of being the essence of a giver. That's the kind of people we want to be. He's the founder of monotheism. Think about how far Islam is from where Abraham was. Now, it's interesting that according to the Shemesh Shmuel and others, each one of the patriarchs represents a different aspect of God, right? And therefore, there's a different midot, different character traits that God has that were embodied by the avot and the imaot. Abraham's character trait was chesed, right? Now, each trait has to have a counterweight that balances it, which means the imaot were the opposites of whatever their husbands were. And therefore, if Abraham is chesed, what does that make Sarah imenu? She's gevurah, she's justice, she's din, right? She's the opposite. She's the, by the way, you see it so beautifully in the Parsha. Abraham can't send Ishmael away. Sarah says, get that guy out of my house. And what does the Pasuk say? Shema b'kol ishtecha, my wife's favorite verse. Listen to your wife, God says, right? And Abraham is forced to do what she says, right? So you see this counterbalance over there. Abraham is in a position where he desperately wants to give, but any midah to any extreme is bad. The goal is balance. But Abraham's exquisite, unique love to want to share is where his merit comes from. I believe that's part of our mission here. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin that the way in which we prepare ourselves for Mashiach, okay, is through Torah and Gemilut Chasadim. The 2 ways we bring Mashiach further is coming to my class on Wednesday and come to all the classes here every single day. And then 2, it's not enough to hear the class, but you have to mobilize and become people that are truly lovers of giving. That has to become your reality. That's the truth. We all know it, by the way. When you create a society where they no longer see the beauty of and the responsibility to give, and I'll call them out, the Palestinian Authority or Hamas are individuals that no longer care about chesed. They've lost the plot. To be a human being means to see a deep, to feel a deep-seated responsibility to care for life, not magnify and inspire death. We don't want that. That's not what emet is. Emet is a world of et hachayim. The tree of life means to live in a world of truth. A world of truth demands that we take certain responsibilities. Okay, so so that's the serpent. The serpent is poisons us with his imagination. The way we metakin it, the way we fix it is by bowing and humbling ourselves to feel a sense of gratitude, feeling a sense of indebtedness. That's what we break out of it. The Maharal says emet truth to the life-sustaining sun, which illuminates the world, yet never deviates even slightly from its appointed orbit. So too, says the Maharal, the truth is precisely bound by its defined path. The moment one diverges from it, even by a fraction, one slips into the tangent of sheker, falsehood. And davar kazeh ma'at sheker, even the smallest distortion transforms truth into falsehood. Truth by its nature is absolute. There's no such thing as a partial truth. For truth must be whole and unbroken. Truth is eternal. While even the smallest subtraction destroys its essence, if one removes the final letter tav, the smallest numerical unit of emet, what remains is im, what can be rearranged as met, meaning death. Thus, the removal of a single element of truth transforms life-giving clarity into decay. Falsehood is not the opposite of truth, but its absence. That is the world of the Maharal. The Maharal says, you think it's like a small little white lie, and it's okay. Like Mamdani can justify saying what he says because he wants to win. No. If you're someone that is not yashar, right, then you already fall into the pit of falsehood. Then you fall into the world of the snake, the nachash. The nachash lives in a world of imagination. It's only in the world of imagination that Sheka could go ahead and grab hold of the world that you and I are living in. Let's do the story of Sanhedrin, the remarkable story of Rava. I once believed, he said, there was no truth in the world until I met a sage named Tavus, right? Some say his name was Tavyomi, who never deviated from the truth, not even for all the treasures buried beneath the earth. He told me of an incident from his own life. I once visited a city called Kushta, meaning truth in Aramaic, where no one ever uttered a lie, and as a result, no one ever died prematurely, which means, according to the Gemara, that the reason why people die prematurely is because they're liars. They're not living in the world of Emet. I married a woman from that city, and we had 2 sons. One day, while my wife was washing her hair, a neighbor came to the door. Wishing not to embarrass her, his wife, didn't want to say that she's washing her hair, I said that she was not home. Shortly thereafter, both the sons died. The townspeople came in and asked, what happened? Right, meaning in that town, no one died prematurely because everyone always told the truth. When I told them the whole story, they said, please leave our city, lest a plague come upon us through you. The moral is piercing, even when spoken with good intent, the smallest deviation from the truth can break the natural harmony of reality. For truth sustains life, and falsehood, however gentle, breeds decay. Moral rot, physical rot, a rot and decay of reality, and so on and so forth. Right? Because, look at the Maharal in the Tivot Olam, because it is so easy to slip from life-giving truth into deadly falsehood, the Torah does not prohibit merely lying, right? Prohibit lying, rather than commanding do not lie. It insists on something stronger. Midvar sheker tirchak. Keep far away, keep your distance from falsehood. The Torah's wording teaches that one must not only avoid falsehood, but create a distance from it, even for situations or habits that might lead to distortions. Truth requires vigilance, for a single step off the path of light is already the beginning of darkness. Right? That is the reality that we live in. Midvar sheker tirchak. We want to be people that are always taught the truth. Now, where does this start? Where does this begin? I often see young couples who are married with children, and you have a child who does something that is inappropriate. And you say, you better stop that or else, right? You cannot threaten a child without a consequence that you actually are upholding. If you're going to say something to a child and not carry it out, you're teaching them falsehoods. As parents, we have to double down on saying what we say, meaning it, and carrying it through 100% of the time. It's the smallest amount of deviation. And by the way, even when we speak about things, are we careful enough? And I make these mistakes all the time because I'm a human being, but I'm aware of the fact that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give our information in the way that is most meaningful, but more importantly, is true. I don't want to share falsehoods. Because if I start leaning into the realm of falsehoods in that world of imagination of the Nachash, I start distorting my whole entire reality. And I don't want to distort reality. Okay, so I need to end a little bit earlier today. God willing, next week, we're going to pick up with Chotmo Shel Kadosh Baruch Hu. Actually, let's just, we'll do that tomorrow. Number 11, Bezrat Hashem, page number 3. Number 11 is where we will pick up next week. That will be the final class for the letters, and then God willing, after that, we'll start with the Imahot. Wishing you all an amazing week, everybody. Thank you so much for listening.